family and friends here, which has been the most incredible thing to have after SafariLive, after Big Cat Week, which was outrageous. Normally, I jump on a plane, end up sitting in Joburg by myself, watching these guys doing an incredible job, and then fly home, of course, to my beautiful wife and son. But this has been a really fantastic sort of up the mountain, beautiful peak with Big Cat Week and all the incredible times we had. Plateau, have a little break, and then they arrived, and it's just been fantastic. So we've been at Juma, we've seen you guys going live as we've been watching you live, which has been fantastic, and thank you for all the support and love that you've sent to all the friends and family, that's for sure.
Just talk us through your first game drive, first morning game drive. What did you have there?
My first morning game drive.
With your family?
This is not bragging, I promise you, but these are the sorts of things that happen now and again. The first morning game drive with family and friends, we saw cheetah, we saw leopard, not just leopard, but Karula and Shadow interacting. Sorry, did I say that out loud? My apologies. Karula and Shadow, cheetah, Salati male lions, elephant, big herds of elephants, and massive herds of buffalo, and loads of other things. It's absolutely been brilliant, but miss you guys. James Hendry.
I think he's so lucky. That's unbelievable. All right, we're going to leave him to his probably a gin and tonic, excellent thing to be drinking at this time of the day. Kids are not drinking that, of course. What are you having to drink?
Gin and tonic.
They are live. Right, let's get across to Scott before anything gets out of hand here, and we'll see you a bit later.
See you guys. See you soon.
Well, I'm sure all of you enjoyed that surprise glimpse of the elusive Hayden Turner. And isn't it wonderful that he's managed to spend some time here on a social level? So, very good stuff. I'm glad that he's enjoying himself with his family and friends out here. It really is a wonderful place to work, but it's far more magical to be here with friends and family, as I'm sure all of you would understand. Okay, I think it is time to drive Ingwe Alley, which is a road that has kind of been built since SafariLive's return to this area. Good evening, Tiki. And Tiki is wondering, how long did I train to do this job? Well, Tiki, it was very, very easy, actually. I just did a 6-month training course at a lodge nearby in the southern Sabi Sands. And then I was a fully fledged guide with all the national legal qualifications that I required. And obviously I was an absolute rookie because I had no experience driving guests around and dealing with guests on safari, but after 6 months of hardcore training, I had a fairly decent knowledge of the basics out here, and since then I've just been adding to my experience and knowledge day by day. So it's not difficult to become a field guide, that's for certain. Obviously, taking 6 guests on the back of your vehicle is an entirely different scenario to what we're doing now, presenting a live streamed safari. So, different, but very similar in many respects, otherwise it wouldn't be a true safari experience, which I feel it really is. The interaction between all of us and the moments and memories that we share together are fantastic, but it is obviously different having thousands of people on a safari as opposed to 6, so you can cater for individually and get to know over a 3-day period. It's a little bit more tricky to get to know you guys individually, although some of the longer term viewers have built up relationships with us, and we've got to kind of understand what makes various people tick. Ticky. Very good. And it's something very important to remember, whether you are boy or girl, young or old, it is not an impossibility to come out and do a training course and work out here. So remember to keep that dream alive if it is one. Lodgers actually quite often enjoy employing ex-lawyers or ex-accountants. So if you are a lawyer and accountant wanting to do something different, that would bode well on your CV.
Look at that. Hello, Jamie. Look at that. Hello, Jamie. Don't go past without saying hello. You know, everybody does love you.
Hello, everybody.
There
This
she
is Emma.
is.
Emma's wonderful.
Hello, Emma. Emma's wonderful. There we go.
Emma is
That's
wonderful.
good news. It's always important to go on safari with wonderful people.
I
find,
feel
you
the
know.
same way.
Not idiots. You don't want to go with them.
No, I'm trying to
Right. As you were. Which side is best, do you think?
Right.
Normal side.
Yep,
Okay.
normal side. Enjoy.
Enjoy your drive.
Thank you. Enjoy. Cheers.
See you just now. You can't move, Josh. So that was Jamie. Such a privilege, I tell you what, having a lady on the team. And as I said yesterday, the Cubs out. I didn't say that yesterday. As I said yesterday, the real advantage to having ladies on guiding and ranging teams is that their egos tend to be so much smaller than the men. And that means that they don't push animals too hard. They don't act in a macho fashion out in the bush, which is wonderful. They teach us all a lesson every day. Exactly, they're not cowboys. I did see the cub. Andrew, where'd it go? Let's just stop here for a little while. I hope that it's just gone the other side there. We will go across there if the little thing doesn't move up here. I saw it leaping about on the top of the mound. Anyway, while we're doing that, I'll just ask that question about the cheetahs and why it is they've got that white mantle on the back of the cheetah cubs, why they've got that white mantle on their backs. That's Andrew turning on the VR rig. Thank you, Andrew. And the reason they have that white mantle, we think, everybody, is that they look a little bit like honey badgers when they're little. And I think maybe it just puts off predators slightly. Predators don't like honey badgers. Honey badgers are voracious defenders of themselves and their cubs. And I think that white mantle perhaps makes them look a little bit like honey badgers. And that could be why they are colored like that. I also think it makes it easier for them to lie down in the grass and hide if they're threatened. So I'm going to sit here for another 2 minutes. Oh, there's the 6-month-old cub. There, you can see her back. I think the little one is probably with her. Let's sit here for another 2 minutes. And then we'll move around that side and see if we can't see the black cub. Jamie was sitting right where we are, and she said the cub was around here. Well, Dr. Debbie, we've heard these hyenas going, heard the little one going, and you want to know what the strangest noise that I've heard an animal make is. Dr. Debbie, I think that the most bizarre noise that I've heard probably comes from a hippo. Hippos make the most astonishing noises when they're threatened or when they're trying to mate. They've got this kind of, I'm not going to do it here because it'll create great consternation at the den, but this kind of loud, this groaning noise. It sounds like it comes from another world entirely. Yeah. No, it's not. It's the nose. Yeah, so Dr. Debbie, I'd say hippos are probably the ones that make the most strange noise for me. What about you, Andrew?
I thought the ostrich makes a very strange
An
noise.
ostrich does make an odd noise, yes.
Or a bird.
Yes. It's almost like a roar. I think we're going to go around the other side there and see if we can get a slightly better look at the cover. If we can't, we'll just come straight back to this area and wait patiently. I'm in two minds. See what the mother does. It's the most perfect den site, this. Lots of shade. Huge termite mound for safety. Go around the other side there. Right, watch your head, Andrew. Don't wish to knock it off. I was so excited when I saw the baby. I thought we were in for a long sighting of her. Maybe we will be the other side. King, while we're repositioning here, you wanted to know if I in its sleep like a dog does. Rich, I haven't. I've no doubt they dream. Sorry, you lost me there. Rich King, a wonderful question. Have I ever seen hyenas running in their sleep like dogs? Rich, I haven't. I've no doubt they do dream, though, in much the same way that dogs and cats do. There we go. High action now. There's the little one. Well, I don't know what's going on here. They will often have more than one entrance to the hole. So maybe she's got another little hole in there. Maybe she's just playing around. Look at the little thing. Exploring the world. So sweet. That 6-month-old will just be at the edge of suckling, stopping almost weaned, and so we'll start to have to move around a bit with the clan. But this little thing has got another 5 months or so of suckling on. Look at it. Too precious. And every single time I see her, she looks like she's just getting a little bit more sure-footed. The lessons of running around on this mound are helping to solidify the neural bonds in her nervous system, help to strengthen the muscles that she's going to need as an adult hyena. And every single time I see her, she ventures just a little bit further down the mound. Look at that. You can hear the mother going, Little one chewing there. So sweet. And you can just feel the change in the atmosphere now. Everything around us is starting to calm down. The birds of the day have stopped singing, and we're into the changing of the guard. Just to keep you informed, we won't put a light on them, but I mean these days it's been staying light to almost 7 o'clock, so we wouldn't need to anyway. But these little ones are just a little bit too small. We just don't want to have any effect on their possible survival through putting lights on them. So sweet. atmosphere. It's such a lovely atmosphere now. The cicadas are still going. And it feels like the earth has taken a sigh and breathed out. Hyenas will move their dens every so often. These ones haven't moved now for probably 5 weeks. And the whole clan, I think, will make the decision to move when the time comes. This little one was actually born in here. And we don't know how many cubs this mother has had and, how long they will be in this den. So I don't know. I would say if they are going to move, it'll be pretty soon. They will need to avoid the disease that comes along. But it won't be just that mother that decides where to move the den, because obviously the mother of the 6-month-old cub will have a vested interest in where they go and where they stay, depending on who the matriarch is. We think maybe the mother of the 6-month-old is the matriarch, although Brent said he didn't think so the other day. He saw she's got a big scar on her back, so she's easily identifiable. He thought he'd seen her being dominated by 1 or 2 others. And interestingly, just talking about first-time mothers, which I think this one's a little bit old to be a first-time mother, but first-time mother hyenas, 18% of them will die in childbirth because of that very odd arrangement of genitalia that they have. And of those 18%, and the rest of them, a lot of the cubs will die as well. So although 18% of mothers die in childbirth, a higher proportion, I think it's almost 40% of cubs born to first-time mothers will die. And for those of you who don't know, they've got a really odd kind of birth tract. The uterus is in the same place as it would be in any other sort of similarly shaped animal. But the fetus has got to come out of a sort of telescopically inverted pseudo-penis or a large clitoris, which is just, it makes for an extremely awkward birthing process. Now, Tammy, you're obviously looking at the 2 different colors and wondering when the spots come. They'll start pretty soon. You can see completely spotted at 6 months, that one there. Almost 7 months, I suppose, but she was spotted by 6 months. And so this little one will start to get spots the more and more time she spends outside. Already around the face, she's getting a little bit of spotting around the neck. Look how close she's coming. Isn't that wonderful? This is the first time she's been this close to the car on her own. The mother's watching quite carefully. It's so sweet. But you can there very clearly see the spotting, Tammy, starting on the neck. That's Andrew just turning on the VR rig. He's calling him back. Stuck now? Now, Ginny in Virginia, apparently a number of years ago you were watching Safari, there was a wild dog cub called Teddy, and you want to know if we've managed to keep up with Teddy. Ginny, I have certainly never heard of a hyena. Look, she's coming so close. Never heard of a hyena called Teddy. Once they get to adult, though, it's very difficult to follow the individuals. Look how close. This is fantastic. She's taking the little one on a little walk. Giving Andrew the hairy eyeball. Oh, this is fantastic. This is just so special. think they'll go straight back up the other side. You can hear her calling. Ooh, she sat down to suckle there, just below the den. Right, I'm just going to reverse back a bit. Try and get a decent view in there. Wonderful stuff. This is incredible. So I don't know what happened to Teddy, but Jenny, it's very difficult to tell. Teddy could well be still around. Difficult to tell with the adults. We don't spend nearly as much time with them as we do with the leopards and lions. So to pick individuals from the clan, and especially if Teddy was a male, you know, he wouldn't necessarily be in the same clan. Oh, Cub's coming back this way. Thank you, Andrew. This is fantastic. I don't know where to look. Jeffrey, do you want to know what causes them to die the first-time mothers, and is it blood loss? Jeffrey, I don't know what it is, you know. I think it's internal injury. The fetus has basically got to do a 90-degree turn internally and then come out of this ridiculously shaped organ that doesn't look like it was ever designed to birth something. And I think that the internal injuries that result, I couldn't tell you what those are the leading causes of deaths for young hyena mothers. I'm actually just going to wait here for a little while. Monique, you've asked a very pertinent, brilliant question. Why, if it is so harmful to the hyenas, you know, why do they have that anatomy that makes it harmful to them? Well, Monique, I'm going to take it back to human beings. For many, many, many years, until the advent of medical science and advanced obstetrics, of course, one of the greatest dangers to a woman was giving birth. And that's because our hips are placed where they are. And that birthing canal goes between the hips as opposed to out the back of them, as happens with most other mammals. And that makes birthing much less dangerous for them. That is simply because we are bipedal, we walk upright, and it's one of the sacrifices we've made to being bipedal. The birth canal is very narrow, especially for our youngsters, which have enormous heads. So Monique, in the case of the hyena, and I've just read about this, they reckon that the reason they have this highly matriarchal social society where the females, in order to maintain the social structure that they have this enormous amount of androgen or various androgens, different kinds of male sex hormones that give them all these male sex characteristics. And one of the sort of the costs of that, of these strange male organs that they have, one of the costs involved is this dangerous birth process. And obviously, evolutionary-wise, it obviously hasn't affected their numbers sufficiently for there to be enough selective pressure for them to have a different design, or for nature to come up with a different design. And so, yeah, it's just one of the trade-offs that they have for maintaining this incredibly successful social structure that they have. Great question, Monique. Thank you. And I'm more than happy if you wish to discuss stuff like that again, and if you've got any more questions on it, let's think it through together. Now, let's try and go around the other side now. I think the default is going to be for the cub to come more towards the side.